Have you ever stopped and wondered why some people just leap at opportunities while others kind of shrink away from the exact same thing? Well, it often comes down to this one incredibly powerful, invisible force, your identity. Today, we're going to explore this really profound idea that who you believe you are fundamentally shapes your entire experience of life. Now, this is the key to everything we're talking about. It's suggesting that your sense of self doesn't just, influence your life. It literally stands at the door of what you find meaningful, deciding what gets in and what gets turned away. So let's really unpack what that means. So how does this gatekeeper thing actually work in practice? First up, let's look at how our identity acts as a filter on our reality, basically determining the possibilities we're even able to notice in the first place. So this gatekeeper identity, it's that internal lens, right? And it's not about what you're actually capable of doing, but what you believe you are. This belief system dictates what you'll even try, what risks you'll take, and, get this, even what you'll allow yourself to imagine. It's like an invisible fence around your potential. Just imagine this scenario. You've got two people, and they're facing the exact same opportunity. The first person thinks, nah, I'm not that kind of person. Right there, for them, identity just became a hard boundary. But the other one? They think, this is exactly what I was made for. And for them, that same identity is a wide-open gateway. See? Same situation, but their internal sense of self leads to completely different outcomes. Okay, so if identity is that powerful, what happens when our sense of self is negative or really restrictive? Well, that's where we get to this idea of the cages we carry around. Let's dig into where these limiting beliefs actually come from. When we cling to a super narrow view of ourselves, our identity stops being a helpful guide, and instead, it becomes a cage. It can literally stop us from even seeing the paths that could lead to a more meaningful life, locking them away before we even realize they exist. So where are these cages built? Well, they come from a lot of places. The stories our family tells about us, you're the smart one, or you're the clumsy one, cultural pressures, subtle signals from our friends. And what's really fascinating is it's not just our failures that build these things. Our past successes can be just as limiting, locking us into this tiny definition of who we're supposed to be. Out in the real world, these internal beliefs, they're not just thoughts. They operate like scripts, pretty much dictating our actions and shaping the reality we experience. Let's take a look at how that actually plays out. Let's start with a really heavy one. I am unworthy of love. If you've ever felt this, you know just how powerful it is. This isn't just some fleeting thought. For some, it's a core belief about who they are at their deepest level. And what's the result of that script? If you truly live by the idea that you're unworthy of love, you will unconsciously interpret every relationship through that filter. You might push people away or withdraw entirely because your identity is working overtime to prove its own script correct. And in doing so, you sabotage the very thing that could bring you the most meaning. Okay, here's another one, and it's a really common and powerful script. This one ties a person's entire sense of self-worth to what they do, to their external accomplishments. It's this deep-seated belief that your value isn't just a given. It has to be earned, again and again and again. The end result of this? A person living by this script can just grind themselves into total exhaustion. They're always chasing the next promotion, the next award, the next thing that proves their worth. But while they're doing that, they often completely neglect the deeper, more stable sources of meaning, which can leave them feeling totally burnt out and empty. Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly, but what's the solution? This is where the story takes a hopeful turn. It's all about realizing that we actually have the power to unlock these cages and to rewrite the very scripts that hold us back. So here it is, the most crucial point. Your identity is not set in stone. It might feel permanent, right? Like it's just who you are, but that's a huge misconception. And that right there is the good news. The best way to think of your identity is like clay. It's malleable, it's open to revision, and most importantly, you are the one with the agency here. You're not just a passive bystander. You actually have the power to actively shape and change who you are. So, how do you actually do it? Well, it's kind of like a three-step process. First, you have to question the scripts you've inherited. Ask yourself, where did this belief even come from? Second, you test them. Does the belief that you're unworthy really hold up when you look at the evidence of your life? And third, you rewrite. you make a conscious choice to create a new script to live by. Okay, for this last part, we're going to switch up our metaphor. We're going to move away from that restrictive idea of a cage and start thinking about something more generative, more hopeful, seeing our identity as a kind of garden that we can actively cultivate. Thinking of your identity as soil is a really powerful reframe. It's not some fixed structure. It's a living, breathing ecosystem. It's the internal environment that decides whether the seeds of meaning have the nutrients they need to grow or if they're just going to wither and die. So you can have two kinds of soil, right? On one side, you've got barren soil. That's an identity filled with self-condemnation and shame. And meaning really struggles to take root there. But on the other side, you've got rich soil, an identity full of self-acceptance and possibility. That is the ground where a truly meaningful life can flourish. And this brings us to the crucial point of all of this. The search for what matters in your life isn't some separate journey from the work of shaping who you are. They are completely, totally intertwined. To find meaning, you also have to do the work on your identity. So, we're going to end with a question aimed directly at you. It's not just who are you right now, but who are you becoming? Because as we've seen, the answer to that very question is what will ultimately determine the boundaries and the possibilities of a meaningful life.